all these different types of sacrifice
All these different types of sacrifice
are approved by the Vedas,
are approved by the Vedas,
and all of them
and all of them
are born
are born
of different types of work.
different types of work.
Knowing them as such,
Knowing them as such,
you
you
will become liberated.
will become liberated.
Purport. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence, but all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today's verse 32. Evam bahuvidha yajna vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshasi. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, evam gyatva, you will become liberated, vimokshasi. And there is a very short purport, just 4 lines, but there is a lot of meaning and depth in these lines. So let us dive into today's verse and try to understand what Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us about this verse. Just as context, those of you who have attended the previous 2 classes on Bhagavad Gita and last 2 on Saturday and Sunday last week, you have already got some context that we have been discussing. Several months back, we had stopped 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and now we have resumed. And we had covered that the 4th chapter is broken into 4 sections: position of Lord Krishna. Then the second section is applying transcendental knowledge to work. The third section talks about various types of sacrifices. And we are coming to the end of this third section now. And the fourth and the last section of this 4th chapter is Transcendental Knowledge Glories. So we are resuming from where we stopped last time on the verses that talk about different types of sacrifice, the purpose behind them, and the context behind why these sacrifices are done. We saw that the different types of sacrifice include worshipping the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, sacrificing the hearing process, mind control, controlling the mind, sacrificing the objects, and then various different kinds of strict vows that one may take. Vows of brahmacharya may be taken, and severe austerities may be taken. Some people would do in-depth studying of the Vedas as a primary means of sacrifice, swadhyaya yajna. So there are dravyamaya yajnas, or tapomaya yajnas, yoga yajnas, studying the Vedas, swadhyaya yajnas. And then we also saw some complicated breathing exercises, seemingly impossible, taking the breath and making it go in the opposite direction, etc. So we saw that. Then we saw what was the purpose behind these yajnas. We saw that the purpose behind the yajnas was to overcome, to stop the sinful activities mitigate the results of sinful reactions, and control the senses. And we also saw the root cause behind why we engage in sense gratification, and how these sacrifices are a means to control those urges. And then last Sunday, we saw this wonderful purport and some very important sentences. I'll just read one or two sentences from this purport for some context, because it has a lot to do with what we're going to talk today. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. See, just look at the power of the sentence and the sweeping nature of that, and how deeply ingrained this problem is. Whatever form of material existence one is in, one is invariably ignorant of his real situation. In other words, existence in the material world is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful lives. It's not just one thing that we did wrong somewhere, that we are now in this material world and we are suffering. It's not like that. It is due to the multiple reactions to our sinful lives. And why are we suffering like this? Ignorance is the cause of sinful life. And sinful life is the cause of one's dragging on in material existence. The human form of life is the only loophole by which one may get out of this entanglement. So last week's class was the loophole. And we saw how this material existence was the cycle of material suffering that we saw last time, that how there's a sense gratification that leads to sinful reaction leads to material existence, and as part of your material existence, you again indulge in sense gratification. And then again, the sense gratification leads to reactions, and then the reaction again leads to material existence. So this is a perpetual cycle, and at the heart of this is ignorance. Ignorance about our true position, ignorance about the Lord, ignorance about our relationship with the Lord. And these sacrifices that have been prescribed by the Vedas, they are attacking this ignorance at the root, and then they're converting the material existence into the spiritual existence. This is what we saw last time. And today what we will see is that when this ignorance is destroyed, what do we see? And what happens if we don't destroy this ignorance? Then what is our current position? So we'll try to draw a little bit more about this contrast. I would like to start by quoting this wonderful verse from Sri Ishopanishad. It is called the Ishopanishad Invocation Prayer. I request all of those in this temple hall to repeat after me. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Here, Purnam Adaha means the Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. That is Purnam Adaha means that is complete. When you say that refers to Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purnam Idam. Idam means this. So what is this? This is the material world, the phenomenal world that we are in. That is Idam. Purnam Idam. Not just this world, but all the emanation from him, because this phenomenal world is not just this universe that we are in, but all the universes that are emanating from the Lord. Purnam Idam. Then Purnat Purnam Udachyate. That is, from this complete whole comes whatever comes from that is also complete. So the personality of Godhead is complete, perfect and complete. And because he's perfect and complete, all the emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are also perfectly equipped as complete wholes. And then whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. So this universe is complete in itself. But because he is a complete whole, and even though so many complete units come from him, so infinity minus infinity, is it zero? No. Infinity is infinity. So when there is a complete perfection. This is an absolute realm. In the absolute realm, 1 minus 1 is 1. It is not 0. So when you take whatever you may take from the Supreme Perfect Lord, that what you have taken is also perfect and complete, and what remains, eva vashishyate. Vashishyate means whatever remains. So whatever remains, what is that? Supreme Lord. He remains complete. So although the Lord is complete and what we are taking out is complete, but what remains is complete. But then why is it that we feel incomplete? Because we feel incomplete, we are looking for something. There is something that we are trying to achieve. What is it that we are trying to achieve? So whatever it may be, we are trying to achieve something because we feel a sense of incompleteness. And this incompleteness actually is our incomplete knowledge about the complete Lord. So Srila Prabhupada says in the purport of this verse that the incompleteness that we experience, it is not actually incompleteness, but we experience it. It is imaginary. There is no real incompleteness. Actually, we are also complete because we are emanations from the Lord. We are also complete. We are also perfect, but we are experiencing incompleteness. Why are we experiencing this incompleteness? We are experiencing this incompleteness because of our incomplete knowledge about the complete, perfect Lord. So Prabhupada says that all the facilities that are given to the small, complete units, that is the living beings. So whatever facilities we have been given in this universe, to enable us to realize the complete Lord is actually sufficient for us. Meaning whatever facility is required for us to realize the Lord has been provided. So even though there is ignorance, but the means to dispel the ignorance has actually been provided in this world. That's how this world has been created. So not only we have been sent forth in this world, and not only that we are perfect, but even though we experience this imperfection, but what we need in order to dispel this imperfection has also been provided. Prabhupada says, the human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being. And it is obtained after evolving through 8.4 million species of life in the cycle of birth and death. If in this human life of full consciousness, the living entity does not realize his completeness, in his relation to the complete whole, which means if we don't use this life to complete the realization of our relationship with the Lord, then what happens? Then he loses his chance to realize his completeness and is again put into the evolutionary cycle by the law of material nature. Which means that if we don't utilize this chance, we have to go back to lower species of life. This is the only chance. This is the loophole that we talked about in the last verse. But because we do not know that there is a complete arrangement in the nature for our maintenance, we make efforts to utilize the resources of nature to create a so-called complete life of sense enjoyment. We have no idea. We don't know that actually already arrangements have been made. So we are making extra effort for sense enjoyment. So already there is perfect enjoyment facility created. And the facility for us to realize that is also created. But we keep that all to one side. And we make our own plans, our own endeavors for sense enjoyment. Because the living entity cannot enjoy the life of the senses without being dovetailed with the complete whole, the misleading life of sense enjoyment is illusion. So, but the fact is we cannot enjoy. Because no matter how hard we try, no matter what arrangement we make, by the dint of our power, we make so many arrangements. But without connecting with the Lord, without dovetailing our activities into the Lord, it is not possible for us to be in enjoyment. Therefore, this sometimes that drop for which we are adjusting our tongue and trying to taste That is what Prabhupada says is actually illusion. It is not possible for us to enjoy, and yet we are thinking that we are enjoying. That is illusion. The hand of a body is a complete unit only as long as it is attached to the complete body. When the hand is severed from the body, it may appear like a hand, but actually it has none of the potencies of the hand. Similarly, living beings are part and parcel of the complete whole. And if they are severed from the complete whole, the illusory representation of completeness cannot fully satisfy them. The completeness of human life, Prabhupada says in this last paragraph of this purport for this Ishopanishad invocation, is, he says, the completeness of human life can be realized only when one engages in the service of the complete whole. All the services in this world, whether social, political, communal, international, or even interplanetary, will remain incomplete until they are dovetailed with the complete whole. When everything is dovetailed with the complete whole, the attached parts and parcels also become complete in themselves. So with this, we will go back into today's verse with this background. Let us try to understand this verse in the context of this Ishopanishad invocation, where Prabhupada is describing what is the Lord, how the Lord is complete and perfect, how we are also complete and perfect, but we are not realizing that, and therefore we are in ignorance. And that the perception that I'm actually enjoying is illusion, because actually there is not possible to have enjoyment. And unless our activities are fully dovetailed in the service of the Lord, just like a hand has to serve the body, just as a small screw in a big machine has only use as long as the screw is there in the machine. Once the screw falls down, it has no use. That is, sometimes we find out that in a big machine there's some spare part missing, and there are big companies that have their main amount of revenue coming from spare parts business. All they do is they keep shipping spare parts here and there. Once I met one executive in a company called Caterpillar. Caterpillar is a very large equipment manufacturer, and they were explaining how in Caterpillar the equipment has got some value, right? There's large cranes that move things. But then a very significant portion of the business comes when these cranes break down. And when they break down, even a small portion of the crane, they will air freight it from Germany or wherever it is within 1 or 2 days, because every day that the crane is idle, so many laborers are wasted and so much millions of dollars are gone down the drain. So that small screw, whatever is missing, has value only when it is attached to the crane. Otherwise, if let us say we're walking on the road, we see so many nails, screws, parts lying here and there. Do they have any value? There is no value to any of that. Only as long as it's in the machine, it has got value. So with this, let us see in today's verse. If you see, there is one line that says that, and this is confirmed by the Lord by his own mouth. So the explanation given by Krishna today, Prabhupada is saying, is emphasizing the importance of this verse today is being emphasized by Prabhupada in the purport by saying that this is coming from the mouth of the Lord. What is the significance of the mouth of the Lord? Let us just delve a little bit into the significance of the mouth. I know there was once, several months back, there was a class that we had on the significance of the lotus feet of the Lord. Today we will see a little bit about what is the significance of the mouth of the Lord. See, if you see, there is this wonderful verse in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. All of you must have read the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. So in that, there is this quotation taken from Gita Mahatmya. The verse says, Bharatamrita sarvashvam Vishnu Vaktra Vinishritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanmana Vidyate. One who drinks the water of Ganges attains salvation. So what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essential nectar of Mahabharata, and it is spoken by Lord Krishna himself, the original Vishnu. Gita Mahatmya 5. Bhagavad Gita of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Ganges is said to emanate from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Supreme Lord, but from an impartial study, we can appreciate that Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the water of Ganges. So here a poetic comparison is made to the feet of the Lord and the mouth of the Lord. It is, of course, the Supreme Lord's feet, Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Vrittimanti Pashyanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti. The limbs of the Lord, any limb of the Lord can perform the function of any of the limbs. Lord can simply look at prasadam, at food, and he can eat that food just by glancing over the food. Simply by glancing over material nature, millions of living entities are impregnated. So Lord can perform any function from any of his angas. But there is still a special significance given to the mouth, because Bhagavad Gita is coming from the mouth of the Lord. And in today's verse, there's a special mention of this. Brahmano Mukhe. There is a special mention, Prabhupada is saying that this is being confirmed by the Lord from his own mouth. Now, you might have heard about this pastime of the Lord opening his mouth and Mother Yashoda seeing into that mouth. Let us take a quick glance into this wonderful pastime.
Are you crazy? You'll get sick eating dirt. No, don't swallow it. Spit it out. Oh, no, 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 no. Our mothers will be angry that I let you eat dirt. It's not my fault.
What's not your fault?
If Krishna gets sick, I told him not to eat it.
Eat what?
Dirt.
Is this true? Did you eat dirt?
He's lying. Look in his mouth.
My dear little Krishna, can't you see how worried your brother is? Why have you eaten dirt?
Mm-mm.
Are you sure he ate dirt, Balaram?
Yes.
There is only one way to know for sure. Krishna, if you are telling the truth, then just open your mouth and I shall see. I must be dreaming.
So so you saw this wonderful episode where Mother Yashoda is asking little Krishna to open his mouth, and in that mouth she sees such a wonderful phenomenon. The entire universe, the laws of nature, it is stated in Bhagavatam that the action and reaction she sees, how it is possible to see, we cannot understand. Time, she sees how much time living entities have been allotted. And then she sees herself in the mouth of her child, baby Krishna. So she was so astonished. How can this be? Am I dreaming? You heard her say, am I dreaming? This is actually there in Bhagavatam. She's wondering, am I dreaming? And then she says, no, it cannot be. I'm not dreaming. I can see. How is it possible? And then she does something extraordinary. She does something very wonderful. And this, what she did after that is actually very natural for a devotee who is not certain why something is happening. So what did she do after this? So before we see that, let us see one more example from the life of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra has set an example for everyone to follow in our lives. He was an ideal son. He was an ideal student. He was the ideal king. Even today we speak of Ramarajya. And one of the mantras in the glorifications of Lord Ramachandra is Om Shri Dantaya Namaha. You must have seen this in today's meditation post that was sent out on Sri Ramachandra. Om Shri Dantaya Namaha. One of the Ashtotra prayers. What this means is the one who is never disturbed in any situation. We can see in the life of Lord Ramachandra that he was unperturbed by difficult situations. For example, when he was ordered to go on exile for 14 years, he did not utter a word in protest. He simply accepted the instruction and proceeded on the exile. Right? He was not disturbed. And in the life of Ramachandra, we can see there were so many disturbances that came. He was never disturbed. Similarly, in the life of Pandavas, the Pandavas had so many difficulties in their life, but they were never disturbed. And so what did Mother Yashoda do? This is described in Srimad Bhagavatam in chapter 10, in Canto 10, chapter 8, verse 41, 10.8.41. The verse says, Atho yathavanna vitarka gocharam cheto mana karma vacho bhirajñasa yadashrayam yena yata pratiyate sudurvibhayam pranatashmi tat padam. I'll just repeat one more time. Very wonderful verse. Atho yathavanna vitarka gocharam cheto mana karma vacho bhirajñasa yadashrayam yena yata pratiyate sudur vibhavyam pranatasmi tat padam. So here, what is described? This is Mother Yashoda is thinking like this. So what she is saying is vitarka gocharam. Vitarka gocharam means vitarka. Tarka means argument. You would have heard tark, vitark. So tarka means argument. Vitarka means any argument that you can put forward. Gocharam, that is sense perception. So the Lord is beyond any kind of argument or reasoning you may put forward, or beyond any kind of sense perception. It's not within our sense perception. Cheto mana karma vachobhir ajnasa. Cheta means consciousness. Cheta means cheta. Cheto darpana marjanam. You heard, right? Cheta means consciousness. Manaha. Manaha is mind. Karma. Karma is any of our activities. Vachobhihi. Vachobhihi means by our words. So by our consciousness, by our mind, by our activities, or by our words, ajnasa, we cannot understand. We cannot understand the Lord. But therefore, pranatasmi tat padam. She says, therefore I surrender. And the translation of this verse says, therefore, let me surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead and offer my obeisances unto him, who is beyond the conception of human speculation, the mind, activities, words, and arguments, who is the original cause of this cosmic manifestation, by whom the entire cosmos is maintained and by whom we can conceive of its existence. So you see that even though there is a cosmos and he is the original creator, but even for us to be able to conceive of the existence of this cosmos, we require him. That is a wonderful part of this purport. And let me simply, so that is so wonderful that it comes to a point where I cannot understand, I cannot fathom this. And therefore Mother Yashoda is saying, let me simply offer my obeisances, for he is beyond my contemplation, speculation, and meditation. He is beyond all of my material activities. So this is the conclusion that Mother Yashoda came. As soon as she saw this extraordinary feature of the mouth of the Lord. So this Prabhupada is bringing our focus, our attention to the fact that that transcendental mouth of the Lord is speaking here. We better pay our attention. We better pay our alertness. We better listen carefully, because that transcendental mouth of the Lord, who's beyond anything that we can see. Otherwise, because we have just read in the previous verses how ignorance is the root cause. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of the complete whole. Ignorance of the Lord is the reason for our material suffering. Now, if we have to understand that Lord, then Yashoda Mata, Mother Yashoda, who was so exalted that the Lord personally appeared in her womb, that is the position of Yashoda Mata. And she is saying that the Lord is beyond my understanding. So what is our hope? How can we hope to dispel our ignorance about the Lord who is complete? And if we don't understand this, there is no hope for us to remain happy or to realize our completeness, and we will go down back into animal life. And it seems like a conundrum, because there is no, we have to understand the Lord, but He's beyond our understanding. So what do we do? So this is where Prabhupada is saying in today's verse that this is confirmed by the Lord by His own mouth. So the formula for how to understand the Lord can only be explained by the Lord. There is no other way to understand. Therefore, it is recommended that one should not try to understand the Supreme Lord by argument or reasoning. When we are beset with some problem for which we can find no reason, sometimes things happen to us and we are not able to understand why this is happening. Why is this happening to me? Why me? And or why is it happening to somebody else? Maybe somebody that we are near and dear ones, or even in the world. Why there is so much poverty in the world? Why there is so much suffering in the world? We are not able to understand. Is God creating poverty? Is God creating terrorism? Did God want 2,000 people to die in the World Trade Center? Sometimes people ask these questions. But we should understand that there is no alternative than to surrender to the Supreme Lord and offer Him our respectful obeisances. There is no other way. This is what Mother Yashoda did. So actually, the devotee cannot understand. Whenever the situation happens that the devotee cannot understand why something is happening, the devotee, a good advanced devotee, what he does, like how the example that is given by Mother Yashoda here, the devotee concludes that Bhunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. Bhunjana eva atmakritam vipakam. I am experiencing, I am suffering my own doing. The devotee accepts that this is due to my own past misdeeds. And in fact, not only that this is my past misdeeds, but actually my misdeeds were so great that my suffering should have been much greater. But the Lord has actually discounted my suffering, and He has only given me a small amount of suffering. And this He accepts as the mercy of the Lord. Tatte anukampam su samikshaman. So anukampam is mercy. So He accepts the suffering, whatever suffering is coming because of my past activity, it has been discounted. And not only that it has been discounted, it is actually being given for my benefit. Tatte anukampam su samikshamano. And he simply takes shelter of the Lord. And he offers obeisances again and again. Such a devotee is actually called Mukti Pade. Mukti Pade Sadayabhak. And Prabhupada says that he is guaranteed his liberation from this material world. So there is this wonderful verse in Bhagavatam, in 10th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse. Tatte anukampam su samikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hrida vak vapubhir vidadhan namaste. That is from my heart, my words, and my body. The heart, vapu, body, and words. Vidadhan namaste, offering obeisances again and again. A person who lives like this, jiveta yo, mukti pade sadaiva, he becomes eligible for liberation, guaranteed liberation. So this is the importance of the words coming from the mouth of the Lord. And the purpose of emphasizing that really is to make us alert. Sometimes when there is a king that is coming, you would have seen in some Hindi movies, there is a king that will appear, and before him there will be some elephants that will come, and then there will be some foot soldiers in front of the elephant, and they'll be having this big trumpet, papa, papa, like that. They'll make a big noise, and then they will read out a big pamphlet that Raja di Raja, like that. They'll say a big introduction is that person is coming. Then everybody will be alert. They'll be attentive. Oh, where is this king? Where is this king? Let me stop doing my nonsense. Let me hear what the king has to come. Otherwise, if I do something, king comes, he will put me in prison, right? Some fear will be there. Or maybe the king has some important announcement. Let me hear, right? So there is warning bell, a sound bell that is present in today's verse. So the question to us is, are we in a state of mind where we are actually paying attention to that? Or what is it that really takes my attention? Is it my, maybe I have a boss who was given a deadline in office, and he has said that, oh, you've done X million dollars of revenue this quarter, you have to double it next quarter. So does that now take our attention? And if the boss says like that, we immediately, oh yes, no, I have a meeting, I have to be attentive. Sometimes you log into these meetings and you have to be extremely attentive, otherwise you'll miss something, and then there'll be a problem, right? Or sometimes our children or other family members, they're coming and they're saying, oh, appa, something, right? And then immediately, oh, full attention, complete, yes, dear, what do you want? Complete attention will be there. Or like this, there are so many events. Maybe there is a sudden news flash. There's 77% polling in West Bengal, or 4 people shot in some polling booth, and immediately, oh, polling booth, something is shot, let me read. Right? So there are so many things that are competing for our attention. But when Krishna comes down and is telling us that here is the formula to understand me, so that I don't have to be born again as a human, such an important thing, am I paying attention to that? Or do I think, oh, Krishna only, no, he is always in my heart, no, if not, no, tomorrow I'll listen, what is the big deal? Is it like that? This is something we need to meditate on. Now, there is this mention in the verse that I just quoted, Jive tayo mukti padesa dayabhak. He is guaranteed liberation from this material world. In today's verse also, in the purport, there is a mention that the line says, in the purport there is a line, the line says, but all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. So all of them means all the sacrifices. There are several sacrifices that have been described in the past. And all these sacrifices, they are all recommended for what? For ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. So previously we saw it is actually to attack that root cause of ignorance, which cuts out or controls sense gratification, which in turn mitigates, because of the austerities that you take, voluntary austerities, it mitigates the sinful reactions. And then by removing the ignorance, we come to the spiritual platform. And the result of advancement in spiritual realization or self-realization is that we are advancing towards liberation from the bodily concept of life. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, we used to have this meditation. It was a 5-minute meditation series that we had. And we had talked about several verses in that and several pictures. Was the well also present in that? Oh no, I think there was a large water body, and there were multiple references to that, different things that we were meditating upon. One of them, I would like to bring that context here in the context of this well. So there is a reference to a well in Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, Yavan artha udapani sarvatah samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. So Yavan artha udapani. Udapani means a body of water, a small body of water. And sarvatah samplutodake. All those things which you can achieve, Yavan artha, whatever it is that you want to achieve, the small body of water, like a well. Let's say you want to draw 1 bucket of water from the well. So there is a well and you're taking a bucket of water. What Krishna is saying is that you can get a bucket of water from the well, but you can also get a bucket of water from Samplutodake, in a large reservoir, right? So just because the well has the water does not mean you cannot go to a large reservoir. In front of you, there's a large reservoir. You can take bucket from there also. Tavan sarveshu vedeshu, just like that, all the purposes behind the Vedas, Brahmanasya vijanataha. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. So here Krishna is comparing a large reservoir of water to the purpose behind the Vedas. And is comparing a small reservoir of water, like well, a small well, is comparing that to the Vedas. You may think normally, this is a little counterintuitive, because normally our perception is that Vedas are vast, because we know we have studied this in the past, right? There are Vedas are so much in content, and how the people in the age of Kali could not understand it, and therefore Vyasadeva has bifurcated them or divided them into 4 sections, and even they are very big, and then they are further subdivided. There is Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, Upasana Kanda. There are Puranas, Itihasas, Upanishads. There are so many Vedic texts. So we think that, oh, Vedic text means vast, right? In some context, yes, that is also explained like that, because Vedas are absolute, transcendental, therefore they're considered to be infinite in some ways. But in this example, the purpose behind the Vedas is even more vast. It is even more vast. It is the source of the water. So just as you have a small well, the source is coming from a large reservoir. Similarly, the Vedas are coming or born from the purpose behind the Vedas. Therefore, one who knows the purpose behind them can actually get the same benefit as one who actually is studying the Vedas. So, if you see this, the ultimate remedy, we have seen that the purpose behind the Vedas is to bring about the liberation from the body. So we have to understand this purpose behind why sacrifices have been prescribed. And there is one more verse, very interesting verse in Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo vedanta krit vedavit chaham. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo means by all the Vedas, I am to be known. Vedaischa sarvair ahameva vedyo. You see the commonality in all these principles. On one hand, we just heard that the purpose behind all the sacrifices is to remove ignorance. We also heard from Ishopanishad, invocation prayer, that ignorance means our lack of understanding of the complete. And here in Bhagavad Gita, in the 15th chapter, Krishna is saying, Vedesha sarvair ahameva vedyo, directly telling us that I am the person to be known. And there is one very interesting quotation that Prabhupada gives. He says, he quotes this verse, Aho bata swapacho gariyan yajjhvagre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapaste juhu shashnur arya brahmanu churnama grananti yete. Oh my Lord, person who's chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala or dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literatures many, many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So Prabhupada says that so one must actually be very intelligent enough to understand the purpose behind Vedas without being attached to the rituals only. And it is not possible for a common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and the resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. There is one person that I know who I recently met a few months back, and after hearing about Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam and making some attempts to read them, he was very much interested in Upanishads and the Vedas. So he said, oh no, this is good, but I want to read the Upanishads. So I said, okay, that's very good, very nice. Why don't you read Ishopanishad? Very nice book is there. And he said, all right, I'll consider. And after that, several months have happened. Then I again followed up to see, did he get a chance to read Upanishad? And unfortunately, no, I don't have time. Very difficult. So you see, just to read a small, Ishopanishad is a very, very small book. And it's one of the smallest portions of the Upanishads. And where is the time to read the Vedas and Upanishads? They're all very difficult. But by simply chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, one comes to the platform of having understood that one can actually come by having understood all the Vedas and having taken bath in all the holy rivers. So all of that, what one might get by by reading all of that and having taken bath in all the holy rivers, one can simply get by simply chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, but it is very important, therefore, for us to understand the purpose behind the Vedas, because if you understand the purpose, then the purpose guides our actions. So, in what, let us say that you've got, my purpose is, I have seen some people, they'll say, oh, what are you doing? What is your next stage? Oh, I have to get into a college, therefore I have to study very hard. And then they're studying hard day and night and taking this exam, practice test, etc. So they're completely absorbed, guided by the purpose that I must get into a college. That's the purpose. So they're absorbed in that purpose. So here, the recommendation is, we must be absorbed in the purpose behind the Vedas. The purpose behind the Vedas is to know Krishna. Are we absorbed in that? Are we absorbed in that? Where is my absorption? What is the purpose that guides my activities? In today's verse, in the purport, there is one very hard-hitting line that Prabhupada says. He says, because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept. Men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept. So our position is that I am the body, and the needs of my mind, the needs of my intelligence, the needs of my gross senses, that is my need. How do I satisfy? Whatever my mind says, I go in that direction. And whatever my intellect accepts as a juicy problem to solve, I accept that as my purpose. And then I become absorbed in solving that complex problem. Oh, should I solve it like this? Should I solve it like that? And whether I'm brushing my teeth or I'm having breakfast. See, let me explain this difference between the attention, which we talked about earlier, attention to Krishna's message, and absorption in the purpose behind the Vedas. How do we understand between this? So, for example, I may be, let us say, studying for an exam. I may be studying for an exam. And yet, if somebody rings the bell, I'm alert to it. I'll say, all right, let me keep my book aside. Let me open the door. Correct? That means my attention is actually divided between the book and my surroundings. I have got some amount of alertness and attention on my surroundings also. If I do not have that alertness, then I cannot respond to a bell that is ringing. So when a bell rings, my attention goes to the bell that is ringing. So attention means there is something in the foreground. What it is that I'm focusing on now, that is attention. Absorption means what is guiding my activities? What is my background thought process? Why am I doing something? When I wake up, what is that comes to my mind immediately? What is that program that is restored from my hard disk? Am I thinking about, oh, today how can I please Krishna? Today how can I please my spiritual master? How can I please my Guru Maharaj? Is it like that? Or is it, oh, today I've got so many meetings. Oh, today how can I excel in my exams? Today how can I excel at work? How can I impress my friends? How can I satisfy the needs of my family? Or today, how can I avoid getting up early? These are also different kinds of absorptions. When we go to bed, that time, what is it that is occupying in our mind? Are we trying to extract the last second of enjoyment from maybe some social messages, maybe a text message here, some internet browsing? Is that my absorption? How can I keep my senses fully engaged despite having work to do? That is our typical absorption. I may be forced to do office work. I may be forced to eat. I may be forced to cook. I may be forced to do so many chores, and I may be alert in all those chores. But the background absorption is, when will this get over? When can I sit down? When can I relax? Maybe when can I watch some TV? This is our absorption. So this is something to reflect upon. Where is my attention and where is my absorption? Now, there is one another sentence, actually two sentences remaining in the purport that we didn't talk about yet. Let us say you take any sacrifice method. There have been several kinds of sacrifices that have been talked till now. It could be Dravyamaya Yajna, Tapomaya Yajna, Yoga Yajna, Swadhyaya Yajna. All these different types of sacrifices have been talked about. For any of these, what is common between them? What is common is you have to work. There is activity involved. There is a labor involved. We cannot simply sit and expect that that sacrifice will happen. That cannot happen, right? So some activity is required. So in today's purport, Prabhupada says that these sacrifices are arranged so that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with intelligence. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of workers. So all these sacrifices require activity, they require work. If we are idle or lazy, indifferent, we cannot advance. So even the sacrifices, they require active work. Now, if you see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna are speaking, and Krishna is giving various types of advice to Arjuna. Now, after all, Arjuna is Krishna's friend, and Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has already decided to kill all of them. He could have said, look, Arjuna, you are my good friend. Why you have to do all this work? Just sit down on the side and just watch the fun. I will kill everything. You go and sleep. He could have said like that. But no, he didn't say that. He says, you have to work. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. Think of me and do that work. This is what Krishna says. So actually, the mood of the Bhagavad Gita is that one must do the activity as per the instructions of our spiritual master. Just as Arjuna has accepted Krishna as the spiritual master and is doing what Krishna has asked him to do, similarly in our life, we have to accept the instructions of the spiritual master. If we are slacking or if we are lazy and if we don't do that, then sometimes spiritual master may give some waking up. Maybe he'll create a environment where, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dragged Kala Krishnadas by his hair out from the clutches of gypsy women. But what was their name? Okay, I thought B. Okay, but means there is a group of gypsy women, no? Bhattadaris. Bhattahari. So he drags him by this hair, but actually that is the extraordinary mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But actually we have been given this free will. Krishna will give some amount of inspiration, but if we keep ignoring it and we don't take it up, then there is not much advancement we can make. So actually, if you see, Prabhupada has given recommendations on how we should direct our activities. And you can see that from the lives of the devotees who have taken up the cause, the purpose behind the Vedas very seriously. And they have taken up the advancement in self-realization as a prime directive, as a prime goal. And you can see from their lives that they are extremely busy. There is no let up. Not that, okay, I've given up my work, material duties, now I can relax and simply sit down and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. No, it is not like that. It's not recommendation of Prabhupada. He has given and he has created enormous number of varieties of activities. So even Prabhupada himself, he used to be so active, hardly sleeping for 1 or 2 hours a day. Little difficult to follow, but let us see our own lives. Let us say you take 24 hours in a day, and let us say we keep aside 6 or 7 hours for sleeping, and then so that leaves, let us say 24 minus 7. How much is that? 17 hours. So there are still 17 hours left in the day. Let us say somebody says, oh, my office work is, my boss is expecting a lot of work. No, 8 hours is not possible in software industry. 10 hours, I have to work 10 hours. All right, take 10 hours for office work. So 17 minus 10, 7 hours are still remaining. And then let us say we take 2 hours for eating breakfast, lunch, dinner, and maybe cleaning the plates, putting the dishes back into the rack, something like that. 2 hours we take total. So 5 hours remaining. Let us say 1 hour we take to get ready in the morning. We get up, brush our teeth, take a bath, bathroom, etc. Takes 1 hour. 4 hours are still remaining. 4 hours are still remaining. And this time, and we'll come to what the remaining time also, actually we have to be absorbed in the purpose behind the Vedas 24/7. But even if you take the 4 hours, and even if you take, let us say somebody is a full-time mother, then also cooking 2 times a day, taking care of children, purchasing whatever is necessary for the household, chasing down the children, getting them ready for school, taking them to classes, driving here, driving there. All of this is like a full-time job. It will take same 10 hours, 11 hours it takes. Still there are 4 hours remaining. So you can see now in this time, what do we choose to do in the spare time? What are my preferred activities in my spare time? Do I introspect, like today I had so much spare time and I used it for this purpose? Do I introspect at the end of the day? Or today is over, finally, one day is over, no, next day, tomorrow. Tomorrow, oh, today how can I enjoy my free time? How can I steal 15 minutes from here, 15 minutes from there, and try to do something, some way in which I can extend my enjoyment? Are we trying to do that? What impels me to accept or reject a certain activity that comes to my mind? So you see, we talked about last week about somebody who's very poor, and sometimes we walk by this person and we feel that, oh, look, the wonderful, perfect laws of nature have neglected this person. This person does not have a perfect life. I need to help this person. And we have an urge to maybe give some money to this person, or in some way we feel compassionate about. Of course, nothing wrong in feeling compassionate. But we saw that the science behind that is actually not supported by the Vedas. There is no imperfection in his life. And we had seen the example of how if there's a mother who has 2 children, one of the children is not well, the mother will not give the sugar candy to the sick child, and the other child may get the sugar candy. So now the sick child, if the sick child is asking the mother, oh mother, why did you give my brother the candy, but you didn't give me the candy? See, that's not a very wise question, because mother knows what is best for you. So deliberately the sugar candy is not being given. It is for your own benefit. So like this, whatever a person is experiencing, actually that is a perfect thing for that person. But because of lack of knowledge, we are thinking that there is imperfection. So Prabhupada says that you simply take caution how to increase your Krishna consciousness. That is real welfare work. And then he quotes this wonderful verse, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So this, taken from Katha Upanishad, has a very nice part to it, which sometimes we may not pay attention to it, is Yo Vidadhati Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. So Vidadhati Kaman means all the different varieties of desires. Who is fulfilling? Eko. So that one person, the one Supreme Lord, is actually fulfilling the desires of all the different living entities. So the difference between us and the Lord is that whatever necessity we have, actually the Lord is supplying automatically without us having to endeavor for it. And yet our alertness, our absorption, and our activities are in undertaking our own independent endeavor, because we are not understanding this basic principle that whatever we require is already being supplied by the Lord, and we should simply go according to the plan of the Lord. What we need to do actually to realize that this poor man who is experiencing something that is lacking, who's experiencing something that is lacking and is lamenting about it, is actually me. I may have a house, I may have a car, I may have a nice family, but my position is no different from this man, because he is lacking something, he is lamenting about it. I am also lacking something, I am also lamenting. I am also making so many special endeavors to go and grab that, not knowing that actually whatever is needed is already being supplied. without having to make any special endeavor. So what is it that really tends to grab my attention? Where is my absorption? What is it that I prefer to do in my spare time? So I would like to stop here with this thought and pause to see if you have any questions or comments. Online. No. Oh, no. No, I have not been sharing screen. I know that. The previous screen was this, in case you were wondering which old man am I referring to. This is the screen that I was referring to. And prior to this, I think you must have seen this part. I don't know if you saw. I don't know if this is projected or this is stop projecting. Okay, no problem. So does anybody online have any thoughts on reflections upon hearing this, and any realizations on our attention, our absorption, and how we choose to do our activities? Are they in line with the purpose of the Vedas? Are we waking up in the morning with the goal of acting as per the purpose of the Vedas, advancing in self-realization? Are we waking up with that goal? Are we going to bed with that goal? Any thoughts? Subhu Prabhu? Who? Jitendra Prabhu, yes. Yes, off mute. Yes, Prabhu. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Previously, I was chanting in the evening. Okay, so I was facing so much difficulties to complete my chanting in the evening. So what I have decided that I have to wake up early in the morning, and I have to complete my chanting at all. Whatever will happen, I have to start my day with chanting. So I started. First few days, I did not take bath, but I concentrated on the chanting. So after a few days, I feel that no, I have to also. It will also not take much time, so I have to take my bath, and then I will chant. So we have to be sincere, and sincerely we have to follow, and we have to firm determine that in this life itself we have to go back, because I don't know what will happen when I will die, but actually I have determined that in this very life only I have to go back.
Wonderful. It's very nice to hear. Wonderful. That's a perfect,
Thank
very
you.
good example of how, with introspection, we can realize ways in which we can fine-tune our activities in a way that are more aligned with the purpose of self-realization, purpose of realizing our relationship with the Lord. Yes. Anyone else? Okay. If there's nothing else, I have one announcement to make, a couple of announcements. First is that there is Sri Ramanavami. Sri Ramanavami Maha Mahotsav ki Jai.
Yeah.
So Ramanavami is on April 21st. April 21st. So Sri Ramanavami is on April 21st. Please block your calendar, evening time. So at least after 4 p.m. Eastern time, you should block your calendar, those who are local, so you can come early. Those who are remote, maybe 5:30 p.m. or so. The timing will get announced. You will get flights. So that is one announcement. April 21st, evening time. And the second announcement is that we are organizing yet another Yatra Pilgrimage. And we would like to invite all of you to join us on June 24th. June 24th? On June 24th, we are going to leave from the temple here. We'll go to Niagara Falls, and then we'll also go to from there to New Vrindavan, and then we'll come back to the temple. It's a 5-day trip. This is a plan right now, and how we execute this depends upon number of people who sign up. So those who are interested, kindly contact us, and we can give more details. Because these places, the hotels and the places of stay, they book fast. They sell out very fast in June, July. These are the heavy season months. So please let us know soon so that we can make block bookings for these places. We are also considering that if there are sufficient number of people, then we can charter a bus and we can have a bus journey from the temple to Niagara, and we'll keep the bus all the way for 5 days and come back. It will be very nice. We'll have flexibility in making a few stops along the way as well. So those who are, and it's, I can tell you from personal experience, when I started participating in Yatra, Dham Yatra, pilgrimage with the association of devotees, there is nothing comparable to that. It is not an experience that can be described in words. It is a very unique opportunity and is transformative in nature. There is no price that is too much for it. But of course, we try to keep the price costs down to the extent possible. At the same time, trying to make sure that the families that are coming, especially if there are any elderly people, that they do not experience any discomfort. So kindly let us know. And if you have any alternate suggestions, we are open. But right now, this is the plan. So all of you kindly come on your camera and repeat after me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की, जगत गुरु
Jai,
शिला प्रभुपाद की, निताई
Jai,
गौर प्रेमानंदे।
Hari Bol.
हरे
Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा। She's not there. Where is your younger sister? She ran away. All right.